So we all have a lot going on in our lives, especially these days. How is it that you have time to get any of your writing done at all?
Uh, okay, my answer to that is going to be most useful to me. Okay. Remember what I said earlier about, pinch of salt and everybody's different? So this may not work for you. But one of the tricks when you're a writer, and sometimes you'll hear writers talk about writer's block and how they bog down on something. Guess what? We all bog down on things we don't really want to do. So if you have a giant assignment in biology and your giant assignment requires you to look into the sex life of the chimpanzee and you really don't want to go to the zoo, crawl under a chimpanzee to look at their sex organs and then write something about it. If that really doesn't turn your crank, you're going to put it off and you're going, oh, I'll get to it. I don't want to do it now. And then you'll have to do it in a rush at the last minute or even be late. We procrastinate things we don't really want to do. That's just human nature. One of the ways around it when you're a writer is to have 6 or 7 projects on the go at all times. And projects that are different. So if you're writing a huge tragic novel in which everybody in the castle is going to murder everybody else before the end of the book. So you're writing Game of Thrones. Okay? But if you want to write a little PG Woodhouse funny story that's about 3 pages long, that can be a project you're working on at the same time. So when you bog down on the one, you jump to the other. And if you have 3 or 4 projects on the go, and guess what? All students who are in high school, this is easy for you. You always have too many assignments handed to you because you have more than one teacher. You're taking more than one course or topic at a time. So you're always getting stuff loaded on you. You really don't want to do, but you have to. And they're all different. You can do the same thing with writing projects. If you're writing something that is a play, but you also decide to write something that's nonfiction, say you open an issue of Toronto Life magazine and say, I could write a nonfiction article like this article on this serial killer, or this article on this realtor who's made a career in, say, the Annex or in Forest Hill. I could write something like that. And you start writing something like that. And then at the same time, you were writing a Harlequin romance. And at the same time, you're writing a James Bond type thing. And whenever you bog down on one, you jump to the other. That works like a charm for me. I mean, some people will say, oh, I can't split my brain into that. You're not really splitting your brain. You're turning from one to the other. In the same way that you can have a buffet, well, not during COVID, but when COVID is not going on, you can go to a restaurant that has a buffet and you walk up to the buffet. You don't go, oh no, I don't know what to do. I'm hungry, but there's so many choices. I have to stop right here. No, you grab something and you grab something else and you grab something else. And pretty quickly your plate is full and you go back to your table and eat it. You don't go, oh my goodness, look at all the stuff I can't possibly choose. You just jump into what you want. And the same thing, that's what you do when you're writing. You jump from one project to the other. So you never bog down and you never feel bad about yourself. Like if you let one of those assignments you don't want to do slide and you know it's going to be due in a few days, you know it's getting later, you start to feel bad about it. You start to feel a little guilty or, oh, am I going to have to pull an all-nighter? This is going to be terrible. But if you're every day you're working on something, even if you just get a paragraph or a line written, you feel good. Okay, I got that done. Cool, I got that done. Feel good about myself. Oh, that was cool. Oh, I got this other idea. That worked. That's wonderful. Jump to this next one. So you feel much better about yourself. It's self-care when you're actually producing stuff.
Having so many projects on the go at once must be a challenge for you. I assume that you are planning things to keep everything straight in your mind, or you're not planning anything at all and just going for it, putting everything down as it comes to you. So my question is, what strategies work best for you? Are you the type of person who plans everything out ahead of time, or do you just go with it?
Um, if I was left to my druthers, if it was just me, I would be planning nothing and just having fun writing. I just sit down and let the characters take it where they took it. This would probably lead to long, shapeless stories that needed lots of fixing, but I would have a lot of fun. However, the real answer to your question, because I'm doing all sorts of different professional writing, is I do it however the client or the publisher or my collaborator, if I'm collaborating, how they want to do it. I mean, I've published over 400 books. I've tried just about every way you can do things over the years. But the long and short of it is, if you're writing for particular markets, they have particular expectations. So for instance, if I'm writing for a major New York publishing house, they either want a finished book and their editor will read it. So it really doesn't matter how I produced it. The editor will read it and decide whether or not they want to publish it. And if they do want to publish it, what little changes they want me to make to it. Or they're going to need a full outline. So it doesn't matter if I don't want to plan the book at all beforehand. I have to. And some people's full outlines, and again, this depends on what the editor's expecting. I have collaborated on Hollywood work in which the outline said, this is the tried and true story of two rival families, bracket Romeo and Juliet, bracket, in which two star-crossed lovers evolve as the families kill each other. They will murder their way through the book. There will be huge fights. And at the end, we have a tragic star-crossed lovers. Or we pull it out, depending on what the movie is. And that's the outline. You go, that's not an outline. That's encapsulating the story in 3 sentences. That's not really an outline. And I've actually been told by editors, oh no, I need a chapter breakdown outline, chapter by chapter. And I have collaborated on a major New York Times bestseller in which the middle chapters, chapter 56, more fighting. Chapter 57, big battle. Chapter 58, more fighting. Zoblob dies. That was the outline. It was like, what? Because each of those chapters is 3,500 to 5,000 words that we're making up from that outline. More fighting. Okay, I can more fight for 5,000 words, but you see what I mean? It's not really an outline. And other people's outlines, and if I'm left on my own and I'm asked to outline something, my outlines tend to be this way. They have dialogue in them. So they're actually what a theater director would call blocking. For those of you who haven't taken theater, blocking can be said formally in many ways, but it really comes down to moving bodies around a stage for the dramatic effect. So if you read a scene in Shakespeare, it'll say, exeunt, pursued by a bear, or something like that, or enter Holinshed. But where does Holinshed come onto the stage, and how does he come on? Does he come running on with a sword drawn? Does he come running on out of breath and looking behind him as if he's being chased? Does he stroll on, drinking a daiquiri? You see, all of these things set up the scene, and that's blocking. So my outlines have blocking in them, and they have key dialogue, like the really killer lines in a Hollywood movie. In the middle of The Princess Bride, I've got something to tell you. I'm not left-handed either. Those killer moments, Luke, I am your father. Those lines would actually be in the outline, because to me, they are essential for the reader of the outline to figure out what I'm trying to do in the scene. So I would have to put in a full outline. And sometimes for a 300-page novel, my outline would be 100 pages long. So I'm practically writing the story in the outline. And many publishers require this. So the answer to your question is whatever the project requires. But if I was left to myself, I would just start writing and let the characters again, it would be focused on interesting characters and they would tell the story. And it would become obvious to me as I was working on it, oh, now so and so is going to do a pratfall. Now so and so is going to start a fight. Now so and so is going to storm out because they didn't get what they wanted. So they're going to leave and they're going to try and come back later when they can get what they want or something. And I would just let the story tell itself because that's more fun. That is more fun, but it might not get the book written as fast. And it definitely doesn't work if you're writing a plot-driven thriller novel like a James Bond, where you're racing through action scenes. In my druthers, I'd rather write P.G. Wodehouse type comedy, where somebody says, "Oh, plover's eggs! I didn't know we could get plover's eggs this time of year. Throw me a plover's egg." Splat. "Oh, you didn't cook them." That sort of thing. I'm just having fun with the characters.